You've reached your destination.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to There and Back podcast with Shabana and Cassidy. Today, we are going to talk about goal setting and how we keep our goals as a constant habit and, achieve those goals. So, if you're a goal setter like Shabana and I, hopefully this episode really excites you.
Hey guys, welcome back. Let's kick it off with our peaks and pits. You want me to go? You want to go?
I can go. So, my peak is actually, well, I'll start with my picks. They like kind of are together. So my pit is yesterday I brought the twins to a birthday party and the playground was mulch and my Hoka was impaled like Olaf, like when he literally just like poof, impaled. So there was a twig that like went through and it was funny because at the moment I thought like a piece of mulch just got in my shoe. So I like took off my shoe, wasn't in the shoe, felt around my sock, wasn't in the sock. I'm like, what the heck? So I go to put the shoe back on and I walk and I'm like, ow, my foot is being like stabbed. Like it was a stabbing feeling. So finally I took it off and the dad was like, here, I'll try to help you. And he had like a pair of pliers in his car. I'm assuming he like does something with tools. I don't know. Couldn't get it out. So I was really sad. So my birthday thankfully is in like 20 days. And I might have reached out to my brother and been like, hey, if you didn't have an idea, I need a new pair of Hokas. Which either way, I needed a new pair. You're supposed to replace them every like 400 miles. If you didn't know, now you know. So it's time for a new pair anyway. So thank you to Quentin. That is my peak. My new Hokas were ordered today. But my pit is that I like to always have like a backup shoe. So it stinks that my shoe is impaled. And like Hokas, if you know Hokas, they have like a very thick platform, like in the bottom. So it's like stuck in the middle. But like when I step, it's in there. And the bottom now has like a little hole. It's probably like not even dime size, but like it's still a hole. So
You could continue to meddle with it and see if you can get it out.
I tried doing that today some more, and then I'm very impatient. I got pretty annoyed with it. I'll probably still try to mess with it because I like to have a backup shoe. As a personal trainer, I'm always in and nanny. I'm always wearing like sneakers. So I'll probably still try to mess with it. Thankfully, I still have like my last pair of backups. They just have a hole near the heel because I ran in them a lot. Those were the shoes that I did my 5K in and trained for my like first 5K in. So yeah, that's my really long pit and peak.
Okay, my pit and peak are kind of on the same playing field. So my pit is I went to Starbucks this weekend. So I went in, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit in Starbucks and like get some work done. And I ordered on the app and it took them 20 minutes and I still didn't have a drink. So I walked up and I asked about it and she told me, oh, it's right here. We just haven't put the cold foam on it yet. And I was like, okay. And then it took her another like 10 minutes to put cold foam on my drink. So I was a little annoyed about that just to begin with. And then I get the drink and it tastes like sour, like maybe the cream had gone bad or something. So then I had to take it back up there. So that was a frustration. Anyway, peak on the other hand is I went to Dunkin' today
You
and they
haven't
have
finished it?
no, I know. But I got this for $2 with a donut. And I got it with almond milk and caramel swirl and cold foam. $2.
Okay, so
A
I
win.
so today's Moose's birthday. Everybody say happy birthday, Moose, just kidding.
Happy birthday,
Um,
Moose.
but after coaching, I had like an hour gap before nannying. So I also went to Dunkin' and I was like, oh, I'll get him a pup cup. And also Mondays is free call. Like you get a free medium with a purchase. So I got a donut also, and it was 149 for my donut. And then I put in my coffee, get up to the thing, and I'm like, can I have a pup cut? And the lady's like, there's no dog in the car. And I was like, okay, it's his birthday. Like he's at home. I'm in my coaching, like I'm coming from work. So it was really awkward and like awkwardly aggressive. And she was like, okay, no problem. I'm like, thanks. And she ended up giving me like a small cup full of foam. It was honestly insane. Normally they give you like the little like espresso style cups.
Dunkin' usually does the small cup. And
Really? They've always given me an espresso
mhm.
cup. Same as
Oh,
Starbucks.
no, anytime I've taken Ginger there, they always give me like a
Well, either way though,
cup.
I didn't think to check my donut bag. So I was just like, okay, this was awkward. Like I tried to, skedaddle on out of that drive through. I started driving down the road to like grab my donut and they gave me two donuts. So I got two donuts, a pup cup, and a coffee for 149.
I love that for
And
you.
girl math, I had money in my like Dunkin' account, so therefore it was actually just all free because the money was already out of my account for God knows how long. I don't know how long I've had money in there. So girl math, I got two donuts, a coffee, and a book cup for free.
Okay, so donuts are more expensive here apparently because that cost me 1.99 for a donut.
Maybe it depends on which one you get.
I got a glazed donut.
I got a double chocolate, like the chocolate glaze with the
That's
chocolate
yeah,
frost.
I don't know. I feel like a glaze is like the easiest you can come by. No, I think
I
they're all the
don't
same.
know.
It's just the same. I think it's just more expensive here.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
It was
Weird.
149 for me though, so I felt rich.
It's like,
That's
I
wild
mean,
that they are still drinking coffee at 7 p.m. I would not sleep tonight.
I'm not
Honestly.
really drinking it. I'm slowly-ish sipping, kind of. Anyway,
Good.
what's your media minute?
I don't really have one. Yeah, maybe kick us off.
Okay. So my media minute is I was scrolling on TikTok earlier and happened to hold down on the screen in a certain spot and realized that they have
Oh,
added a
yeah.
×2 feature, so you can fast forward through a TikTok.
That's been there for a really long time. I can't
Okay,
believe you didn't know
well,
that.
apparently I didn't notice it until now, but it's kind of nice.
I noticed it like 2 months ago because one day I clicked down and it was somebody like I knew. I don't think it was you, but it was like one of my friends and they started talking really fast and I was like, whoa. And then I let go of my finger and I was like, oh my gosh, I just did this. And I did it again and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been there for a minute. I do like that one. Okay,
Well,
for
now I feel
reference for
silly that I
everybody.
just
No,
figured
you're
it
fine.
out, but I love it still.
No, you're fine. So for all of our friends listening, this is the third recording we've done in like 5 days. So this is why the media minute for me right now is a little bit of a challenge.
You can do it.
I've talked about Hannah Berner before. We're going to see her in November. I'm really excited. And she used to do Burning and how her last name is Burning or Burner, sorry. So like she did like BERNING for like burning. But she always would every week have a celebrity appearance. Not literally, but like it would be like, another influencer. But she's on tour right now for a really long time. So her and her husband, they took the same exact account and just changed the name, changed it all out. So now it's called Burner Phone. So you call in with your burning hot questions and it's really cute, really fun. Des and her both were on, I think it's called Summer House. I didn't even know it was a thing. I guess that's how they like first, I think it's like Jersey Shore style, like just trash TV style. Never seen it, but I guess that's where they like found, I never really knew. I said to a member at the gym that I was going to see Hannah Berner in November, and they're like, "Oh, the girl from Summer House," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know, she's part of Giggly Squad," and they were like, "Who?" I was like, "That's how I know her," and they were like, "That's how I know I'm old because I know what Summer House is and you don't." And I was like, "LOL, okay."
Gotcha.
So
Nice.
you know what Giggly Squad is, or Summer House, or Burning in Hell. This is Burning in Hell's little revamp of Burner Phone, and it's really funny.
That sounds funny.
So I guess that's my
Okay.
media minute.
Cool. Are we ready to jump into the episode?
I think so.
Okay. I guess I'll kick it off.
I would love that.
All right. So starting with setting your goals, I think for me, it's helpful to just write down a brain dump of all the things I want to do or things I want to accomplish, things I want to try, etc., and just like brain dump it on paper, get it all out. And then I'll go back and like organize it and set like timelines for certain things. Like, oh, I think I could do these 4 things this year, or I think I could like these are reasonably accomplishable in the next month, etc. Maybe this is a more down the line goal, things like that.
Yeah, I feel like for me, at least at my school when I was like growing up, I feel like at the beginning of every school year, it'd be like, what's 3 short-term goals and like what's like 3 long-term goals type style.
Yes.
So I feel like I constantly deal with myself at the beginning of every year, but I also think I kind of deal with myself month to month of like, okay, long-term goal. Like coaching at F45, as silly as it sounds, was like one of my first goals with like being a personal trainer. I was like, oh, I really want to be at like a boutique style. And like I always said I want to be at F45. It might have taken me way too long to get there, but I'm there. But that's just like an example. So I think it's really just about like the long term and short term and like being realistic. Like you can't make $1 million in a month, but maybe in like 5 to 10 years, like you could. And I feel like sometimes like you almost set yourself up for a burnout if you're not realistic with it. So that's like a really big thing is like being realistic and maybe dumbing it down, kind of how I explained of like every month be like, okay, like me every month with like a book when I write down my calendar. This is like one of my weird little niches. I write down my calendar. There's like a side column for notes. I put the books I'm going to read for the month in that side column, which is very type A of me, but I just put them in that side column so that I know like, oh, I'm going to try to read about 7 books a month, 6 months, 5 books, whatever, the number is. And then also it has them planned out so that it's not stressing. So I feel like something like that where it's like a constant continuum, or almost like I feel like with people at the gym, it's a constant of like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. If you don't have a plan, especially in the beginning, you've never done it before, you're not going to make it. Like, I don't mean to be rude, but you're not. So I feel like when you set the goals, I personally like go through and try to like perfect one at a time. So I'm just like giving more examples, I guess, of my life. But when I first moved into this apartment last July, I told myself I wanted to be a morning bird and I woke up at 5:45 every day and everybody thought I was a crackhead because I had no reason to be up that early. And I would just for like the first week, I woke up at 5:45. I made myself get straight out of bed. The second week, I started going to the gym by 6. Like every week, you kind of add one thing in until you perfect it. That's kind of more of a habit builder than a goal builder. But honestly, I think that the space you're in builds your goals and habits around you. Like your headspace, your physical space, all of it, the people you're around. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, if you are the type of person that wakes up at 10 in the morning and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna start waking up at 5 a.m. every day and you just like cold turkey it, that might be challenging. You might want to start with 8 and then 7 and then 6 and then get to 5. Personally, I've tried it. You just end up really tired and you take a nap and then you ruin it all.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of correlates. I have one here and it's don't overfill your plate. So, like Shauna said, if you're a 10 a.m. person that wakes up and you lay in bed on TikTok for an hour, don't go, oh, starting tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym by 5:30, have breakfast by 6. Like, you're not doing that.
You
Like,
might do it for like a day or two. But after that day or two, it's going to like you're better to just slowly back yourself into it.
yeah. So, like I said, like I personally would prefer to wake up at 5. Perfect that I'm waking up at 5. Know that I feel okay at 5 because you still have to obviously go through a full day. Just because you're waking up at 5 and working out by 5:30 doesn't mean that you still don't have work at 8. You still don't have work until 5 and
Right.
everything else. And I feel like a lot of people don't think of that either. And that's why a lot of burnout happens because you're like exhausted and you're like hangry. You didn't eat it. You didn't like plan your food for the day, etc. But yeah, they also say that it takes 21 days to build a habit. I feel like everybody kind of knows that. But if you didn't know, now you know. That's my saying for the day, I guess. If you didn't know, now you know.
So I said that to my coworkers and they were like, no, it takes like 90 days. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's 21. They're like, 21's not enough. I was like, okay.
I've always heard 21. So
I
I mean,
have
they
too.
could.
And they were like, no, I've never heard that. I was like, what? I'm
That's
pretty
what
sure
I've
that's like a
always
thing.
heard.
I'm confused. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard. But it takes
Yeah.
21 days to build a habit. And I feel like I said earlier, like goals are habits. Like we made the goal of wanting to do this podcast. So what do? We record once a week or sometimes twice if that's what the schedule entails. We make sure we're posting consecutively on certain days, certain times, reaching out to a certain amount of brands, people per week, etc., which is a ton of minor habits within the big goal.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to that same saying of like goals don't work unless you do. Like, or like dreams don't work unless you do, I think is the
It's
saying.
dreams, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But it's dreaming is great. It does like help with like inspiration, motivation, but then you have to have discipline and just like stick to it, which is hard sometimes, but you just got to stick to it. And
I
that's how
agree.
you'll get and achieve like those goals. Something you can do is like to help with that inspiration and everything is make some kind of vision board. I like to do it on my like screensavers on like my phone, my iPad, my computer, that stuff. Some people like to visually put it on their wall. That's great too.
Yeah, I am more, like I said, the side of my calendar. It's because, so my calendar's in my room, like across from my bed. So if I wake up, that's like, I guess if I was to like sit straight up like a animatronic would, like, and literally spring straight up, it's the first thing I would see. It's not, but
Yeah.
I do see it a lot and I pass it. And as I'm getting dressed for bed, as I'm getting dressed for work, like I'm seeing it and I'm like, oh, like it's the end of the month. And I ended up reading 4 books this month that were like not on like my quote unquote note TBR. And so therefore I haven't read 2 books on like my actual, noted TBR, I guess you could say. And so I'm like, okay, how can I manage? There's literally like 5 days left in the month, 6 days left in the month. So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, how do I manage? Like tomorrow night I have book club. I'm on page 39 of the book.
Knowing you're gonna text me at like 1 in the morning and be like, I'm done.
Well, little Aura ring plug right here. It tells you your ideal bedtime, and I've been really trying to like I'm very competitive within myself, and so I have to get good scores. And nobody else sees them, only I do. But I've been trying to go to bed in the Aura timeline that they give me.
That's
So
probably a good thing.
no, yeah, I definitely want to talk more about the Aura, not today, but one day. But yeah, I've found myself like that's a habit that I wanted to start. Is I was kind of talking to Sean about this earlier today. I have no problem waking up early. I'm very good at waking up to my alarm. I automatically get up, do what I gotta do. I've always been that way. My problem is I'm exhausted as the day goes on. It's like 5 o'clock. Like even right now, I'm like, ooh, I'm pretty tired. Connor wants to go to the movies, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. But I know if I was to get in bed right now, I'd be like, I'm not tired. I'm good. Let's go run a marathon.
Yeah.
So I do think that's one thing where I guess you could say you can almost supplement your goals. So the Oura Ring was definitely an investment But like it does things like remind me like, hey, you need to rest 'cause I know I'm gonna overdo, or hey, you need to go to bed, it's bedtime. Or, it also syncs with your period and it's like, hey, you might feel really moody today. And it's like, that's good to know. Maybe I won't call my parents and be a biatch. So you can also find things that almost supplement your goals. Like Shavana and I obviously have this podcast together, so we have to bounce ideas off of each other and we use each other as supplement for the podcast as well as other things. But I would say we're each other's main supplement and consistent, easy, like, we're consistent due to each other. Whereas like my ring, is helping me sleep, or not helping me, but giving me a schedule. So I feel like that's another big thing, is you can always find something to supplement or to help, I guess, push you along the way towards your goals. Like some people like to journal. Some people, like Shawna said, almost have like a vision board.
Something I like to do is use timers. So sometimes I don't want to sit down and do something that I need to get done. It's hard to get up and like, get off your phone maybe, or something like that. So if I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, I need to get up, I'll like set a timer for like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And when that timer goes off, I make myself get up and do the said thing. Or, and the other way around, if I need to do something that I maybe am putting off, dreading, etc., I'll sit down to do it and I'll set a timer and I can't stop until that timer goes off. And a lot of times I put it off because of the idea of the thing. And once I'm in it, I'm good and I can just keep going. Even if once that timer goes off, I'll just keep going. But it's just gives you that start that you need to like sit down and do said thing. Because sometimes goals entail things that are not necessarily your favorite things to do, but it's part of it. So gotta get them done.
Like Shawana, when I get back into the gym, but that entails doing leg day.
Yeah.
No, there's this girl I follow. I'm not gonna be able to. I feel like I haven't seen her post TikTok in a while, but I also feel like TikTok's algorithm has been kind of wonky. But I follow her, and she will post like the TikToks of like 88, like having ADHD and having to clean your house. I don't know if you've ever seen her. She's really funny, and she like have music in the background, and then she'll like randomly
Yes.
like drop it. She's so funny. I haven't seen anything in a while. I think I follow her. Maybe I don't. But she made the joke months ago of like, oh, I put on my sneakers because you're not gonna
Oh,
relax when you have sneakers on
I've
your
heard
feet.
that too. Yes, I
So
remember that.
like kind of how you were saying is like sometimes it's not always going to be fun. So like if I have a ton of laundry to fold, I'm gonna put on my sneakers because guess what? I'm not gonna sit down on the couch, plop down, and get comfy. So it's kind of the same with like, as silly as this sounds, like my glasses are only for far sight and then they also have blue light in them. And I hate wearing them. Like I don't wear them often. So I'll put them on because I know I hate wearing them. And guess what? I'm gonna do all my computer work as soon as humanly possible so I can get these glasses off. So it's just like silly things like that that like we're gonna push you to work harder, how Shavana was kind of saying. And it's kind of just like you're not always gonna have fun. Like today I've probably reached out to like 30 companies and I would love for them all to email me back. So if you're listening, hi, welcome. I'm Cassidy. I emailed you today. Please answer. But it's dreadful because it's one, rejection. I feel like it's another big thing with goals is like you never want to be rejected, even from like a self goal. It's just you versus the goal.
Yeah.
And also it's like sometimes you almost feel like you're doing it incorrect. But honestly, I feel like there's no correct way to do anything.
No, I
Okay,
agree.
that might be a little dramatic.
No,
There's obviously
well,
correct ways to do some stuff, but like there's no correct way to put yourself out there and go towards your goals.
the other thing is, it's kind of like, oh, I'll start when I know what I'm doing. I'll start when I'm good at that. Well, if you don't do it, you're never going to be good at it. So therefore, you're never going to start. Everybody starts somewhere. You just got to do it. Like when we started this, we literally just popped
We
some
knew
headphones
nothing.
in and called it
Yeah.
a day. We said, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. I feel like we still have
So,
days like that, honestly, sometimes where we're like,
yeah,
okay, we don't fully know what we're doing, but like if at least if we do it, we'll get better at it.
yeah, just a
It's like
learning.
riding a bike when you're little. Like it will eventually eventually you won't need the training wheels. Eventually you'll go straight. Eventually you won't skin your knee.
Yep.
Like one day you're gonna get up on the bike and just keep biking, which is a silly analogy, but it's true.
Well, also like everything you do is kind of a learning experience. So like even if it's something you're not enjoying, you're gaining something from it, you know? But then kind of along with that is like you said, things don't have to be perfect. Like as long as you're getting them done. And I guess that kind of goes back to when you're in school and like nobody's gonna look at your transcript when you're looking for a job. Nobody's gonna go, oh, you got a C in that class, we're not gonna hire you. Like just pass, just get through it.
Mhm.
And I think the same goes for like most things in life. Like it doesn't always have to be like picture perfect.
Yeah.
exact. Like, don't spend the extra time if it's unneeded, you know?
Yeah, I feel like even you could kind of relate it to this podcast. Some of our episodes flop. Like, we'll just be honest. Some of our episodes flop. And then some of
Yeah.
our episodes were like, some of our episodes we don't even want to put out. And then it's like, wow, they really liked that one. And like,
Yeah.
we doubted ourselves and we were like, oh, like that recording maybe wasn't the best. Like, what should we do? And like, you guys eat it up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that like, you'll never know unless you just put it out there or you try.
No, for sure.
And I feel like that's a lot with goals and habits. Like, just start the Instagram, just start the like, just start posting on TikTok. My TikTok, I post like the most random things. I'm not consistent, but it's just fun. And I'm like, okay, cool. If one day I decide to become famous, cool. If I don't, cool. Like, my TikTok's just for me to be funny.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could be a lot of like this podcast. Sure, one day we could totally blow up and be famous. For now, it's just we already talk every day, 24/7. Might as well record it and see what happens. And like I said,
Yep.
sometimes you guys eat up an episode. And I feel like, especially with guests recently, we've been so honored and privileged to have people on here who can really share their story, whether it's something more vulnerable or something more adventurous and fun. But I think it's really fun. And Sean and I were even talking, and even if a guest episode was to get 2 views, we still got to connect with somebody who maybe through social media we wouldn't have been able to connect with on the same level.
Yeah.
And I think that just built like it's like in the Barbie movie. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay. I'll like briefly say this without like, I guess, spoiling it. Just want to close your ears. I don't know. But
As if you're not
and,
in my headphones.
like take them out. I don't know. But
Yes, because I'm gonna edit this.
well, watch the movie before you edit it. I don't know. Like I said, I'll do it briefly. So in the movie, like there's all the different types of Barbies. I feel like this is also just like a known fact. You go to Target, there's like, Dr. Barbie, Nurse Barbie, etc. Barbie. And like all of the Barbies are best friends, even though they're all so different. And I feel like with the world, like you don't really always I would never talk to a doctor in my free time. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, how would I even connect with one? And I feel like this podcast gives us such a connection to that. And I feel like some of your goals could connect you with people who you would have never thought you could totally become the best of friends with or just truly have like a deep connection with. And it's
Yeah.
because like you're afraid, it's scary. And I feel like we've said like this whole episode, it's just like pushing through that, starting it, building the habit first, maybe break it down the goal. How many habits are within that goal that you can start before maybe you start with the big scary wolf of the goal. How many little pigs are there in tiny little houses? That's a silly analogy too. I'm such a silly goosey today.
Have you heard the song Live More and Love More? I think it's what it's called.
By
It was like
who?
something on Reels that was going through. She's smaller, like a smaller artist, I think. But I have it on my playlist because I think it's just a very uplifting song. And she kind of says, those things. Well, I'm gonna pull up the lyrics real quick. Yeah, so she says, don't let your head stop your heart from moving. If you want to talk to them, talk to them. If you want to like do something, do it. I like that song. I think it's like inspiring, almost like an affirmation type of thing, which I think are really good in this sense as well, just to like get you in the headspace to get your goals done.
Yeah. Also, this one's, I feel like self-explanatory, but like be around people with like-minded ideas or like-minded mindsets.
Yeah.
I started going to a small group. Shout out to Lexi if you're listening. And I was kind of nervous at first just because like, although I'm religious, I'm not like OMG, like super duper religious. Like I don't save myself for marriage. Like no offense to anybody if you're listening and maybe you do, that's totally great for you. And like I do obviously curse if you listen to this podcast. I occasionally drop a bad word. LOL. But not the point.
I feel like religion's different for people though.
Well, no, what I'm more saying though is just like being in a small group, there's so many like-minded people that like are all just like there's also girls that, didn't save themselves for marriage. There's also girls that occasionally, drop the F-bomb. And being around those like-minded people that like want that relationship with God, this is just an example. I'm not saying you have to join a small group, but I'm saying like being in this group of like people who also want to be connected to God is like a whole group of girls that are almost like the Barbies, like they're all supporting each other even though they're so different. And so I feel like that's a big thing. Like Sloan, who was on last week's episode, 2 weeks ago episode. Sloan and I always, when we hang out, are just bouncing so many ideas off of each other all the time. She's always like, Cassie, what do you think of this idea? Because like I obviously have some business stuff with the podcast. She has her business. So it's kind of like, Cassie, what do you think of this? And I'm like, okay, that might be a trademarked something, but maybe if we move things around, like that could be great. And it's just like I said, like being around those people with a like-minded mindset and also the people that want to see you do well and excel they're going to be there, and like I'll sometimes say to the girls, I'll be like, oh, we're debating this for the podcast. What do you think? And they'll be like, eh. And I'm like, what about that? And they're like, love. Like, and sometimes you kind of need, somebody else, because Siobhan and I could be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it's because it's like our baby. Like nobody's baby comes out of the room and they're like, that's an ugly baby. Like you love your child. This is our child. So sometimes you kind of need like that third person to be like, no, your
An
child's
outside
ugly.
opinion.
Like, yeah, like that's an ugly baby girl. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. But
What an
really being
analogy.
around, I'm really just full of analogies today. I'm such a silly goose.
Apparently.
But it's really just all about being around like-minded people and people that want to see you excel at your goals. And honestly, I love
100%.
like telling like my super close friends like my biggest goals so that I almost have somebody to push me to. Because then it's like, oh, Shauna, I remember you mentioned blank. Are you getting there? And you're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, what are you waiting for? And like sometimes I need the same thing of like, Cassie, did you do that? And I'm like, no, I wrote it up, but like I didn't send it. And Shauna's like, oh, okay, well, send it. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
fine, deal. I'll send it. Fine.
No, it's very helpful to have an accountability person, which I think, for example, this podcast, I think we both keep each other very accountable and on top of things.
Even when we want to punch each other in the face, because we literally talk 24/7
happens.
and have to bounce every single idea off of each other. And it's just like, God. But that's just the reality too, is like sometimes your goal is gonna have like a setback. Thankfully, we've never had like a major setback. But occasionally it is just like Shauna pick something and she's like, Cassie, you're being annoying. And I'm like, Shauna, you're being annoying. And we sit there and argue like we're sisters because we're together and talking 24/7. So that's gonna happen. You're gonna have like setbacks with your goals, like, and that's gonna be okay. It's just like kind of, I don't even want to say fake it till you make it. It's just like push through more, really. Like it's okay to have a bad day, but it's more just like push through the bad day and like still push for the goal. Don't give up on it. So
Yeah. And some days you just need to take the night off and start fresh the next day. And that's okay too.
take a good shower or whatever fills your cup, as my mom says.
Vegetate on your couch or rot, I guess.
Rot. Vegetate? You think vegetate's a better word than rot?
I don't know. No, I don't. The rot is growing on me, I won't lie. I just am being stubborn, so I'm like avoiding it.
It's okay. This morning I woke up and I literally, my computer happened to be right by my bed. So total side note. I pulled it up and like automatically started sending the business emails I was talking about earlier. And Connor goes, oh, are you rotting in bed? And I was like, I just woke up 10 minutes ago. This doesn't count as a rot. I just woke up. And I'm also doing business stuff in bed. That's not rotting. I was like, don't say that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny. I was like,
But
no, I'm not
sometimes-
rotting. Thank you very much.
You just need to like clear your head, relax, enjoy doing nothing. Because if you overwhelm yourself
Vegetate.
too much, you end up
You burn out.
you burn out. And you don't want to do that if you want to actually achieve stuff. So give yourself grace,
Yeah.
take the time you need, and you got this.
Yeah, if you want an accountability partner or you want somebody to tell you if maybe you have an ugly baby, you can message us. We'll help you.
Not the ugly baby.
You know I'm right.
I
As
know
much
what
as
you
as much
mean.
as you're laughing at me, like you know it. You know what I mean. And
It's
everybody
the-
listening, I promise
I
you
know what
also
you
know what I
mean.
mean.
The analogy is cracking me up though. Anyway, all right. Well, I think that's everything, right?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening to today's episode. We're so glad you are here and clicked on it. If you're enjoying, we'd love if you wanted to leave a review and a rating. It really would help us out, help us grow the pod. Means a lot. We also have Instagram and TikTok. They're in back.pod, also linked down below. You can also find our personal Instagrams linked down below. And we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So hope you stick around, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye, guys. Also, next week we have something exciting.
We do.
again.
Don't miss it.
So
Tuesday,
your calendars
be there,
for-
be square. Okay, bye. I don't know. I'm tired.
Shawana's analogies today are kind of geeking me.
I mean,
All right, guys, go
it is
go
what it
vegetate
is.
on your couches.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Love you all. See you next Tuesday.